just as Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo and Usman Ododo of Kogi win off-cycle governorship election in their states.
This victory is for the Imo people. It is a victory for continuation of the massive development that the governor is providing for Imo people.
Police Service Commission applauds personnel for resisting hijack of elections by migrants.
Inspector General of Police orders investigation over attack on NLC President Joe Ajero.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on review of the off-cycle elections.
Exactly 9 months after the conduct of the governorship and House of Assembly elections in Nigeria, the off-season election held last Saturday in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi State is with mixed grill as INEC declares winners in Imo and Kogi.
Indeed, Jume, the incumbent in Imo State, that is Governor Hope Uzodinma of the All Progressives Congress, retains his seat and is in for a second term against political strongholds.
Yesterday we saw the celebrations there. And while it might seem Governor Hope Uzodinma reportedly had a somewhat easy win against the other 16 candidates, Lore Diri of Bayelsa State, on the other hand, is up against former governor and past Minister of State Petroleum Resources Timipre Silva of the APC and Udenga Eradri of the Labour Party. Unexpectedly, his fate will be sealed today after the 2 local government areas still pending are announced.
Well, the somewhat shadow of uncertainty cast over Kogi State earlier on Sunday evening has been lifted as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, declared Usman Ododo of the APC winner of the off-cycle election in Kogi State, heralding a new era in the confluent state. Ododo pulled 446,237 votes to defeat Murtala Ajaka of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, who came second with 259,052 votes.
Now, prior to the November 11th, 2023 off-cycle elections, some Nigerians and indeed residents of the 3 states in the eye of the storm were apprehensive of the exercise. However, against the expectation of many, analysts and observers largely agree that the election was smooth and relatively peaceful.
Well, Jume, it's not all cherry.
Yeah, not entirely. Actually, we saw some,
as news reports and various observations, situation rooms for the off-cycle governorship election say the 3 states witnessed massive vote buying in different categories among other electoral skirmishes, including beaver snatching, allegations of fraud, and pockets of violence.
We even saw a pre-filled, election result sheets, in Kogi State. And in addition, the pungent disposition of residents and voter apathy couldn't be ignored. Not forgetting late arrival of election materials in some wards across the 3 states, and in other cases, unconfirmed report of absence of voting materials, as well as cancellation of votes. Yeah.
Now, although some party agents, voters and observers commended a peaceful voting process and seamless bi-modal voter accreditation system in many parts of Bayelsa, same could not be said of Imo State, where incidences of irregularities were recorded.
And the hue and cry of the off-cycle elections further present the need for a credible democratic process. And of course, many Nigerians have called on the electoral body to employ their core values during elections.
And now, before the end of today, Bayelsa will join Kogi and Imo as states ticked off from the off-cycle elections, with Edo and Ondo states beckoning next in 2024. Many believe the Independent National Electoral Commission should avoid the errors and build the confidence of the electorate in its system, devoid of electoral irregularities.
Now the die is cast and it is a new path, or it seems A continuation of the old song as this state's journey onward for the next 4 years. What have been the issues and how transparent has been the conduct of the off-cycle elections? I am Jummai Yusuf. Thanks for joining us on the program. The first edition for the week, we have our second topic, which is on the Abuja Investment Summit.
Many thanks, Jume. I am Ian John, also welcoming you to the program. And of course, we have our usual, if you like, our regulars on the program. We'll have the newspaper review, we'll take business, take a peep into the world of sports and developments around the world. But for now, let's begin with the news highlights with Dennis Adekunloye. Hello, Dennis. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Yenri and Jume. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. Ahmed Usman Ududo, candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, has been declared winner of the Kogi State governorship election that was held on Saturday, November 11th. Ududo polled 446,237 votes to defeat Murtala Ajaka of the Social Democratic Party SDP, who came second with 259,052 votes. Dino Melaye, candidate to the People's Democratic Party PDP, scored 46,362 votes. In the meantime, mixed reactions have continued to trail the declaration of Governor Hope Uzodinma as the winner of the just concluded 2023 Imo State off-cycle governorship election. However, the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party have called for cancellation of the election, alleging the will of the people was subverted.
That Uzodinma Odidika, Good Hope of APC, having certified the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and returned.
This victory is for the Imo people. It is a victory for continuation of the massive development that the governor is providing for Imo people.
The governor has done a lot that justifies him coming back for the second term.
The Police Service Commission staff monitors deployed to Kogi, Imo and Bayelsa states say the policemen on election duty were courageous and contained intermittent cases of attempts of hijacking the elections. The statements by the Commission notes that police officers in several polling units visited were said to be courteous, approachable and professional. However, there were incidents of attacks on voting units, while some arrests were recorded in many places, especially in Kogi State. The police were said to have also contained pockets of attacks in Brass and some other locations in the riverine areas of Bayelsa State. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Commission, Dr. Solomon Orase, who monitored the exercise in Kogi, commended the 3 Deputy Inspectors General of Police who supervised police operations in the 3 states for their quick responses to the Commission's intermittent requests for police intervention in troubled areas. Dr. Orase calls on the force to remain on guard and prepared to forestall any breakdown of law and order. And the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the attack on the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajero in Imo State. The force public relations officer made this known to newsmen in Ore.
Guarantees that it will be followed to a conclusive end and appropriate actions will be taken based on the findings of the investigation.
Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has described presidents of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Most Reverend Daniel Oko, as a bridge builder whose official and spiritual disposition has helped to strengthen the interreligious harmony in the country. She stated this while felicitating with the cleric at a ceremony to mark his 60th birthday in Abuja. Represented by a wife of the Senate President, Ekaete Akpabio, the First Lady, says beyond encouraging an atmosphere of prayers for the well-being of the country, the CAN President has also distinguished himself as a detribalized Nigerian with an unyielding stand for religious peace and harmony.
With calmness
That is a very great virtue. God will bless you. Even when there is a crisis, the way you handle it calms everybody down. God will continue to protect you and your dear wife and your family.
I hope you will really continue to do your effort in trying, to bring good relationship between the Christians and the Muslims.
I got to know him some 30 years ago, and since then, we have been together. Even when he was the Vice President of CAN, he made his silent contributions that he will make his point without being offensive to anybody.
He will take care of you, and the ministry has committed into your care. He will help you perform it.
Well, those are the news highlights for now. Good morning. Nigeria continues after this break with Yenre and Jermaine. Good morning.
The court has demonstrated in this visible commitment to rule of law and humanity, and their commitment to do justice for all Nigerians, regardless of ethnic, religious, or any other biases. So we use the strength of our diversity to build a stronger and prosperous Nigeria. And that's my belief.
Cooking gas price rises to 14,000 naira per 12.5 kilogram cylinder as scarcity hits Lagos, Kano, Delta and others. Let's get details of this and other trending stories in the world of business with Alika Okmanachi Arawa.
Scarcity of liquefied petroleum gas, also known as cooking gas, has hit Lagos and some other states in the country. The other affected states, according to the reports, include Katsina, Sokoto, Delta, Kaduna and Kano. In a survey carried out within Abuja metropolis, revealed that 12.5 kg of cooking gas now sells between 13,500 and 14,000 at the black markets. As of June, the price of 12.5 kg was around 8,700. In September, the price went up to 10,200, and currently, the price has gone up between 13,500 and 14,000.
We have gas. LNG is an agency with the sole responsibility of managing Nigerian gas. But it's quite unfortunate that we have these things, and the prices are going up every day. So the government has to do something.
Cooking gas should be considered, we should be giving full consideration, because deforestation is bringing in climate change and affecting the nation, worldwide. So the government should do everything possible so that the cooking gas is accessible, not even cheap, but accessible to the villagers, to the laymen in the villages, so that they will stop cutting down the firewood.
Government should involve in supplying the gas. They should not leave to only private people. But what is happening in our land is that private people, business, the way they are doing it, they are increasing money anyhow they like. If government intervene by buying it from company and giving it on subsidy rate, then the price will come down.
1,000 naira per kilogram. The government have assured us that the removal is because of the removal of the subsidy on fuel that is causing all this hike in prices. Well, they have assured us that they want to do their best to make sure that our refineries are back on functioning. So we are looking forward to that. We are patient. I thank God for Nigerians. We are patient people. We are patiently waiting.
With business news, Alika Okmanachi Arawa.
Many thanks, Alika, for the business news. Up next is newspaper review.
we have Chukwudi Okolu-Gbaja joining us for the review of the papers this morning. Chukwudi, good to see you after a long break.
How are you? Good morning.
Did I miss you? Yes, I did.
The people of Port Harcourt said I should say hello to you.
Did you bring any plantain?
I didn't, but I love my coaching trip. They were super satisfied, and I was happy with myself.
You didn't get anything for us. By the way, it looks like your complexion improved.
It did. I slept some. They gave me one huge hotel room I had no business being in. I was like a dot in it. Anyhow, newspapers, please.
All right, let's
How are you?
take a look at the papers we have this morning. I have the Punch and the Vanguard. Quickly taking a look at the headlines and the front pages of these papers. Beginning with the Punch this morning, we have the lead story, PDP Labour Party kick as Uzodimma Ododo win. Protests in Bayelsa. The riders, Uzodimma wins all local governments. Opposition rejects Imo Kogi results, say no election took place. Diri supporters protest as Silva wins Lembe with 22,248 votes. APC defends victory in local government. You can read up all the details on page 2 of the Punch. Above the masthead, we have Dangote Refinery secures license to refine 300,000 barrels per day crude. On page 8, you can read up the story on Vices right. Federal government reject 40% varsities IGR deduction. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting read. Vices right. Federal government reject 40% varsities IGR deduction. And next to that, we have pay setting military Amazon takes last salute. Details on page 3 of the Punch. Beside the picture story, we have Editor Summit, NGA draws Tinubu Ribadu orders to Uyo. Federal government aims for 1.9 million barrels per day, intensifies war against oil theft. And at the bottom of the page, we have NDLA naps wheelchair-bound drug dealer, ex-convict others. Finally, this morning from the Punch, 186,452 Sokoto Zamfara Kebbi children not vaccinated. That is credited to UNICEF, and you can find details on page 29. Moving swiftly to the Vanguard this morning, the lead story here is still on the off-cycle governorship elections which held on Saturday, and we have Uzodimma Ododo win and Imo Kogi Bayelsa ready today. Details on page 14. Above the masthead, we have Edo to become first world economy. That's credited to Obaseki, Igodalo, Dangote, others. And then we have insecurity now business. That's coming from Matawale, and details can be found on page 8. From JAM this morning, we have alleged admission racketeering. We are ready for Senate probe. That's the much we can take from the front pages of the Punch and the Vanguard.
Now let's quickly go to the Daily Trust newspaper, and just below the masthead, Nigerian lawmakers most ridiculed, says Senate President Akpabio. You find details on page 13. Flight diversion, congestion at Abuja airport over runway incursion. You find details on page 35. I will ensure National Assembly creates constitutional role for traditional rulers. That's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Details on page 33. And just below the masthead and the lead story in the Daily Trust newspaper, my colleague Nyuri has read it. Imo Kogi Bayelsa post Uzodimma Ododo win as Dare maintains lead. With kickers, opposition candidate parties kick. Election rigged, but I won't waste my time in court. That's coming from SDP's Ajaka. PDP supporter killed, INEC officials abducted in Bayelsa. You find all the details on page 4 and 12. And going down the Daily Trust newspaper at the bottom plate, grumbling over $54 million domestic airlines trapped fund. Details on page 23. NNPC restores 275,000 barrels daily production. That's the details on page 24. Without my actions, North would have been on fire. That's attributed to the Minister of Defense State, Matawale. 5 killed in Shagamu Benin Expressway crash. Details on page 33. And the picture story you see there, damage around the Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, Al Rimal District, Gaza City in Palestine territories. And the picture story you see there, Palestinians arrive south of Gaza City after fleeing their homes in the northern part of the strait amid Israeli strikes. yesterday. And something that is not in the papers today is accident that took place on the Kano-Kaduna road, where the Nigerian Immigration Services lost some of their members that went to Kano for an event, and some of them are receiving treatment, some of them are, in a coma, but we hope they get better, and may the souls of those of the departed rest in peace. Chukudi, the road accidents is just getting out of hand.
I don't know. It's as if these people are on devil wheels. But I still say that life is what you make it. When you have taken care of all the things you need to take care of. Of course, accidents will happen in life. It was a
tire burst for the immigration.
Yeah, the tire burst. What was the state of the tire that burst? Yeah. It could have been prevented. I don't know. There is such a thing as infantile mortality. Yeah. Something could come out of the factory and still go bad. That happens. But who knows, in this case, it could be that tire had no right bearing any load at all, in its state. We don't know what happened. But it's just unfortunate. We seem to have thrown caution to the wind concerning the being mindful about safety. It's very important.
It's very important.
And some people think that when it's September, October, November, December, it's free for all in terms of going to the great beyond. No, it's not. You can hold on to life. We just have to cultivate good manners, better manners on the road. Yeah. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, is saying that Nigerian lawmakers are ridiculed because we do not understand the workings of the legislature. Maybe he's right. Actually, the legislature, we are not deriding the presidency or the judiciary, but the legislature is truly the bastion of democracy. Yes, yes. So we should accord it a lot of regard and maybe respect. But when you talk about 2023 SUV vehicles for lawmakers in the midst of poverty, yes. And people tell you, couldn't the ones that are less costly, couldn't they have done? Must it be 2023? We were talking the other time, we mentioned Brazil. Yeah. They drive cars that look like matchbox. They tell you, what do you need the Jeep for? We drive cars we make and all that.
And bulletproof most of the time.
Then again, nobody has come out clearly to clearly tell us what people call humongous allowances and all that they take home, the lawmakers. Nobody has said, Nigerians, this is why it is like this and all that. If you keep leaving it to the people, speculation will become the partner of such a discourse.
There should be a channel of communication between the people and the legislature, so that they can be aware of how the work they do actually. A layman would just sit down. They just sit down there and talk and say I don't know. He doesn't even know that there are committees, meetings,
exactly. There are really workings of the legislature. You need to understand to know that money is expended naturally on the legislature, but they should come out with more information as to how they work and all that, and it will assuage a lot of uneducated or uninformed feelings. You understand?
Among
beyond the education, I think that the reason why there is an outcry about the vehicles and some of the perks that they get in that particular office is because of the state of the economy.
Exactly.
So no matter how much work they do, let's be realistic. We're civil servants here. We know how much work civil servants put into, whatever sector they're in.
Yes.
And they don't get that much remuneration. And then if you check the people who are in this National Assembly, some of them are past governors, past government officials who gets what do they call it now? They get what they get from their states. For those who are past governors, most of them are past governors.
Oh yes.
What they get as pension, as all other allowances and all that, a civil servant after 35 years doesn't get.
They are made for life.
Doesn't get a quarter or a tenth of that.
Yeah, have you seen a retiree after 35 years? When you see him, you can't even recognize him.
So that's the point really. It's not about how much work they are putting into it. People have even come out to say, well, it should be a service that should be done for almost free, because it's to the nation, and then the fact that the nation has been good to some of them or most of them. based on the kind of offices they've held in the past. And then these are elder statesmen. Who says you can't give back to your country?
You're talking about civil servants. It actually also affects other, strata of society.
Yes.
At the National Hospital, I told a lady, I've been standing here for some time. So I was doing the ward rounds, And I later found out, not from the lady, that part of what is happening in some of our hospitals now is that one person is doing a job that 3 people would have done before because of the Japa syndrome.
10, not 3.
It is not good.
10.
I took somebody there was an accident. I took somebody there who had to have an operation. The toil, they kept postponing the operation for the boy. And I found out it was not their fault.
It's not.
So these are areas that even need more compensation.
Yes.
I'm not saying our lawmakers should not be compensated. So make it even, bearing the load in the country. Don't make it look as if some people...
And let's be truthful, if civil servants or even doctors, can get just a little extra from what they get at the moment,
yes.
the Jackpot syndrome will not be a
Thank
problem.
you. I was discussing just that yesterday. Some people don't want to leave Nigeria. Chukwudi is one of them. I had 2 years of the US visa 2 times.
Yeah.
One was Dropbox. I didn't even use the second one. I don't want to leave this country.
Yeah.
I don't want to. But I don't know, at 66, maybe...
It has affected every sector, especially the
Jerry, I didn't say anything.
Yes, the banking sector, the medical,
Every sector.
Even the media.
Yes,
Before
the
we
media,
came on
yes.
air, you heard one of my colleagues, I don't want to mention names, talking about stress.
Yes.
And how much work...
It is real.
So that's just it. It's not like if everything was rosy, if civil servants or if other workers in the country were being well taken care of, life was good.
Nobody's going to complain.
Who cares about?
Who cares?
Let's talk about what
Nigerians are very easy.
Cooking gas. Last Monday we talked about this.
Is it 14,000 naira you read there?
Yes, 14,000 naira, and before December, I don't know what's going to happen. I was able to get mine anyway by Friday at 12,500, and you see, just from Friday to now, it's 14,000 naira.
You're lucky. And then I just hope that you'll be careful about what you use that gas for, just so that it takes you.
As much as I can, I just switch it off. Before you leave it on, even after cooking, now I switch it off.
And then, if you want to boil water, you want to do anything that you don't need, the setting, the kind of quantity.
Use my units.
Not even that. Not even that. It's like you say you want to use just a cup.
Stove.
If you want to use a cup of water, for example.
Yes.
So instead of boiling like 3 cups and not caring about what happens to the leftover, now you have to measure what you put on.
And we're talking about reducing
you don't
emissions.
say. Don't go there.
Yeah, so that just so that it takes you a longer time.
Actually, some people go for the charcoal to carry out certain culinary, activities, then go to gas, which is the senior.
But how
happens to global warming?
Exactly.
Reducing emissions.
So it's not you that is going to reduce emissions. It's the people who cut it down there. They are still cutting, whether you like it or not. And the desert is coming and coming and coming. Who cares? But we should care.
Exactly. On that note, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, guys. I missed you. I have to say that.
I'm not gonna say I missed you because you didn't bring anything back. So, but that's behind
the
the camera.
Do you know what's in my boot?
Yeah,
I'm going to harass you.
We'll take a break now. When we return, Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Just strengthen my resolve to do more. A challenge of this nature and a future of this nature is more work and more hard work, more dedication. It just appeal to the sense of patriotism of Nigeria to have a change of mindset. Let us be positive about our country, be ready to contribute in all ways possible. There's no promise of El Dorado from day one. We're all in this boat of diversity, a member of the same family, living in the same house, but staying in different rooms. And it is important that we recognize that we have no other country but this one.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. Our conversation this morning is on the review of the off-cycle elections. And to set the tone for the discussion, let's see this background that put together by Ibrahim Dan Hamisu.
The off-cycle elections held in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa states in Nigeria on November 11, 2023 were the first set of elections to be conducted outside the regular electoral cycle and under President Tinubu's watch, which was crucial for filling vacant political positions after the departure of previous governors and for those candidates from the APC, PDP, LP, SDP, ADC, NRM, and several other political parties, including the incumbent, all slugging it out to win the top seat of their respective states as elected governors. Several factors influenced the November 11 polls in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa states, which include the dynamics between political parties in each state that shaped the outcome of the polls. Security challenges in ensuring a secure environment for voting was crucial to the success and credibility of the process also. However, these elections were not free of controversies related to the voting process and votes cast in numbers. According to the Independent National Electoral Commission's database, Imo State produced 2,419,922 voters registered, with 101,003 PVCs uncollected. The opposition Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party called for cancellation of the election, alleging security agents provided cover for some persons to subvert the will of the people through snatching of electoral materials and diversion for altering of the results. Amidst the scuffles with the electoral process, INEC declared Hope Uzodinma of the APC winner and Governor of Imo State, defeating Senator Ethan Achuno of the Labour Party and Samuel Anyang of the PDP by a large margin. In Kogi State, out of 1,932,654 registered voters, 99,494 PVCs were uncollected, leaving Kogi in the spotlight for election malpractice in 9 wards, where INEC announced the suspension of elections in the wards involved in completing results before voting. In a sudden and curious twist of fate, INEC announced Usman Ododo of the APC as elected governor of Kogi State and winner of the election by a large margin, defeating Murtala Yakubu Ajaka of the SDP and Dinu Melaye of the PDP. Bayelsa State had 1,056,862 registered voters who collected their PVCs, and 39,249 PVCs were uncollected. Polls in Bayelsa witnessed major infractions as the two-horse-like race between the incumbent governor, Duyediri, and former governor of the state, Timi Silva, was a fierce contest. The process was marred by incidents of violence and irregularities. Collation of results was also met with controversy, allegations, counter-allegations, and legal threatening remarks. The final results of the polls will be until November 13, 2023. Experts in politics and elections in the country say several aspects need to be analyzed in assessing and examining the outcome of elections and their implications, such as voter turnout, political party performance, candidate profiles, intimidation against electoral process, human versus technology error, and public perception. Understanding these aspects is crucial for analyzing the state of Nigeria's democracy, as well as identifying areas for improvement, which is why more in-depth analysis from expert opinions is recommended and will be discussed on Good Morning Nigeria shortly.
Well, you're welcome back. And to discuss review of off-cycle elections, let me introduce our guests here in the studio. We have Faith Nwadishi, an election situation room observer. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much.
A regular here. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
It must be exhausting coming back to Abuja.
Yes,
today.
exactly. But thank God we're here. That's the most important.
Thank God we're here. Thank God for life. Yes.
We also have joining us Habzat Lawal, the CEO, Connected Development. Many thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And joining us via Zoom is Tari Maureen Amananaga, an election observer. A pleasure to have you, Maureen.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Maureen joins us from Bielsa. Yes. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's like an all-women affair today, just alone. Let's have your candid opinion and assessment of the off-cycle election in Kogi, Imo, and Bielsa. Well, from that, we now go delve deep into the conversation. Let's have your assessment of it.
Well, first I would say I'm blessed among women, so
yes,
I don't feel threatened. Yes, Connected Development deployed USAB, and for us we deployed a week before the elections. And for us, we look at the processes. We're not keen about the results and whoever is declared the winner. For us, we want to look at the process. And this was informed by two policy or regulatory framework. One is the 2022 Electoral Act. The second is INEC's guideline. So we're looking at, ballot box issue, electoral materials. We're looking at personnel. We're looking at security. We're looking at incidents in real time that could undermine the electoral process. And we're working jointly with security agencies so we can escalate, and also INEC so that they can respond. 48 hours before the elections, I traveled from Abuja to Kogi State. In Kogi, we set up a situation room, getting real-time situation report from Bielsa, Imo, and then also in Kogi. I was received by the resident electoral commissioner. Together with him, the DCP of police, DSS, we went to the Central Bank of Nigeria in Lokoja to inspect the sensitive material. And in our presence, it was sorted and sent to the 21 local governments. That's 24 hours before elections. Around 11 p.m. that same day, I dispatched man to the RAC center. I also went to a few RAC centers. So at the RAC center, I confirmed that both sensitive and non-sensitive materials arrived there, and there were heavy armed security personnel to guarantee the protection of lives and property and, of course, INEC material. By 7 a.m., I went to about 4 local governments in Kogi Central, and at 7:15, I was stationed in the polling unit to verify if INEC ad hoc staff and material would get to this polling unit on time. And I can confirm to you by 7:40 they were all on ground. By 7:45 they've set up, and by 8 a.m. polling started. And to also confirm that there was massive turnout in Kogi State. Particularly, we saw a lot of women, people with disability, and young people. And I can also confirm that there was priority voting for older people, pregnant women, and people with disability. That's in Kogi. For Bielsa and Imo, the turnout was terrible. It was really bad compared to Kogi. But then again, there's this argument. When you look at the voter register, does it depict the reality of today? Because we've only been registering people to cast their ballot, but we've never audited. We've never cleaned up the register, and this is one of the gaps and lessons that were taken out of this election. Yes, there were a few pockets of incidents in Imo and in Bielsa in terms of security, but in Kogi State there was no major security threat or issue on ground. And I think this is where we need to commend the IG of Police and the National Security Advisor, that they put to action the words and commitments they made when they met with the chairman of INEC.
All right, many thanks, Hamza. So I'll go straight to Faith Umatushi now. You're smiling. I'm sure that you want to tell us what your experience was like. You were in Imo. You observed, everything that took place there. So just give us an assessment.
Okay, thank you so much. Prior to the election, we visited the 3 states, Bielsa, Kogi, and Imo, to engage stakeholders, security, INEC, and all of that. And there were concerns that came out from those stakeholders' meetings. And going to the election, we decided to look at those issues that came. A day before the election in Imo, we met with the DIG of police that was in charge of policing the election in Imo State, Frank Mba. He had a meeting with civil society, and we tried to address some of these issues. What the major issue was for us, because it came out from the 3 states, security agents themselves were concerned that the Electoral Act made that provision that if an electoral offense is happening within a polling unit where they find themselves, they cannot take action except the presiding officer points it out to them. But again, the Constitution and the Police Act gave them that power, to protect citizens and arrest any crime that is going on. So we went out to look at that. We also went out to look at the ad hoc staff. So in Imo State, as early as possible, we deployed about 100 observers in Imo. We deployed the total 212 observers, 50 in Bayelsa and Kogi, because again the voting population in Imo is much more. The local government in Imo is 27, much more than 8 and 21 that you have in. So we set up our own situation room in Imo State and got reports from other places. So for logistics, I would say there's been a lot of improvement in the logistics. INEC officials came to the polling units on time. They set up on time. But the challenge we saw was, again, that the political class still has not learned, even from the judgment. I felt that with all the judgment that came with the general elections, the political class would have gone back to the drawing table, you know, to do things differently. But they didn't do things differently. So you go to the field. And, you know, INEC did something quite innovative, gave a list of party agents that were deployed by each political unit, and even produced a booklet on that, so that you will know which party deployed party agents. So you go to the field. I went to, I visited 2 local government areas, Owerri Municipal and Owerri North. You go to the field, you see people wearing different party tags. Now, political parties still have not been able to produce the passport photographs of their party agents, so that you can match faces to people who are wearing tags. So people who are wearing tags, there were none there. The one that really pained me was a pregnant woman I saw in a polling unit. She was wearing a party tag, and she didn't even know the name of the party tag she was wearing. But they were all working for the same political party. So you see somebody is wearing a different political party, he's taking instruction from one other political party, and he's even the one in charge of writing the names of people. So we went there and found that there was voter party. If you look at Imo, I mean Kogi and Bayelsa, it was worse in Imo, voter party. So you go there and you saw that happening. So you saw also party agents who didn't know the right questions to ask, you know, during election. For instance, the report that came from Kogi about field result sheet was because party agents were proactive and they were vigilant. In Imo, you saw party agents who didn't even know what questions to ask. So the ad hoc staff is doing their work. They are not asking how many ballot papers do you have, can we see the result sheet, can we see that. As soon as you just show them beavers and the zero, they are good, because a lot of them are in the same place. So you find that driving around, a lot of young people were rather playing football than coming out. So I stopped somewhere to ask them why they were not participating, and they said they were not going to participate. But we saw older people. In fact, I met a woman, 80, she said she'll be 81 next year, and she has voted all her life. She keeps voting. She told me she used to vote in Lagos, she came back to Imo, she has come to vote, and you will see that there's nothing you're going to give her. Because when we interviewed her, she was really shouting so that the party agents will hear that she has not taken much. It was the right thing to be done, but the youths are not doing that. Then on the other part, you see that citizens are yet to know that they have to transfer their PVCs to the newly created polling units. So you go to a polling unit, they had 4 registered voters, but we saw 7 party agents in a polling unit where you had only 4. And interestingly, there was one we went, we saw one voter, registered voter, and we saw 5 party agents. Incidentally, the registered voter in that polling unit is also a party agent. So he voted, and I asked him, how do you feel being the only person here? He said, you know, I'm a party agent, I've delivered my polling unit because I have voted. Just one? Just one, yeah, just one. So we need to intensify, you know, education for citizens to know that it is their responsibility to transfer their PVC. So we had all of that apathy, and then the police. It is good to police the election, but it is bad to militarize it, to make it look as if it is war. On one hand, you're trying to say you want to assure citizens there will be security. On the other hand, you're also scaring lots more people. They're not coming because you're driving around, or you're coming out from your house with your PVC, you see kitted, and what I'm telling you, war ready. kitted with marks and everything, and you see the guns. The particular polling unit we went to, because there were issues they had there during the general election, you had security men, army in front of the polling unit, though you have police inside. One of our observers was, his phone was taken away from him, and then all the pictures, even his personal pictures, deleted. His phone was virtually wiped out. So he went to meet the police, and the first question the police said, hey, why you can't they take our picture now? You know, so it's a lot of that. But I just want to say that when it comes to the issue of logistics, because we are very particular about logistics, there's been a lot of improvement. There's no improvement at all with the attitude of the political class in helping to ensure that the police, you know, I saw more police than other security agents, even though they said they were going to bring, but we saw more police in Imo State and other places. There were some level of professionalism and improvement from what has happened in the past. But we need to continuously address this issue of police not doing anything when a crime is being committed on the field, waiting for the presiding agent who is busy attending to the electoral process. At what point will the presiding agent now leave the electoral process and say, police, please come, oh, this man has committed a crime? So we need to really, because it's a big issue.
Okay, Faith Nwadishi, you've raised a lot of pertinent questions, and on logistics you are giving a pass mark. Well, let's now join Tare Maureen in Bielsa. You're in Bielsa, Tare, and the result there is still pending. Let's have your own assessment of the election and the experience you went through.
Good morning, especially to my boss, Hamzi. Good morning, sir. Here in Bielsa, people will always say it's just hate local government, but 70% of the terrain is covered with water. And for the issue about results being pending, in some places in Southern Niger local government, they got material as late as 9 p.m. on the 11th of November. And, they also had an incident in that area where a boat that was taking materials and personnel to Kulama had an accident, and they lost that material. Although they also got a reprinted material for that particular place that same Saturday, but voting commenced late at that time. So and in the issues of Southern Niger and Brass, for Southern Niger is one of the biggest local governments in Nigeria. So it was difficult. It's difficult. The place had to reach terrain in Bielsa, Southern Niger, and in Brass, I think they had a little bit of inch at the collation center, where some materials that were supposed to be collated at the local government area didn't get to the local government area as of Saturday. They were taken straight to Yenagoa, the INEC office in Yenagoa. And for Bielsa, yes, we experienced a lot of voter apathy. And I would say the reason for the voter apathy is because of a lot of people have seen the events unfolding to the election as people felt it was going to be violent, and people would prefer to stay at their home rather than come out and face the election, because there were a lot of hate speeches during campaigns. And when campaigns are mad with hate speeches, people just on their own just have a perception that it's going to be this way, it's going to be that way. So for Yenagoa that I was observing, I observed the fact that there were a lot of security, and I was asking, are we deploying for war, or we're actually deploying for election? Fine, we know that security is one of the critical part of the election, but when security is being deployed as though we were preparing for not just we're no longer preparing for a civic event, as though we're preparing for actual war. So it's somehow might scare people from coming to participate in the elections. But overall, in the past elections in Bielsa State, I would want to say that this election, in terms of logistic, it was good on the side of INEC. And another thing that we also need to consider, because the political parties are now the issues we're having in elections. Political parties are forgetting that they also have a role in playing in terms of having a beautiful process on election day. Election is a multi-stakeholder event. It is not just an event for only the umpire to take care of. The political party has their role to play. Because even at the collation center, you could see party agents saying that, oh, people did not come out to vote. INEC did not do sensitization properly. And I was like, civil societies went out to do sensitization. INEC also went out to do sensitization. What about the political parties? You went out on campaigns. In your campaigns messages, you're supposed to be asking people to come out and vote. Your campaign is not just only for the members of your political party alone. You are talking to the people in general. There are people that are in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi that are not members of political parties, and they are citizens and they have voters card and they have a right to come out and vote for their leader. But I think the other stakeholders involved in the election are not doing their role in terms of the election. You don't leave everything in the hands of INEC. There are lots of ballot papers that were not used, and that is money that was spent in preparing for those materials for people to come out and cast their vote. So, but overall, the expectations of us from the civil society space was that maybe the election we're going to be marred with a lot of violence. And in terms of collation, I think INEC arranged not to collate results in Southern Niger, because in the past, when collations are ongoing in Southern Niger headquarters, that's where you see election violence and all that. So same thing that usually happens in Southern Niger, almost, in fact, happened in Brass local government area, because we recorded a casualty. Someone was, the two party had an issue and someone was stabbed in the back, and there's a fatality in that recorded in Brass local government, 12 Brass, precisely yesterday, the 12th of November. But overall, what we really experienced in Yenagoa was voter apathy. But in the rural area, because most of the voters are residents there, people can still go out in the morning to mobilize them and come out. So people voted in the rural communities more than they voted in Yenagoa local government, the state capital.
Many thanks, Maureen, for your view as regards the conduct of the election in Bayelsa. Faith, I'd like to come back to you. The three of you have talked about logistics being, okay in this particular election. That has actually been an issue in previous elections, but good that there's some form of improvement. But now looking at voter apathy, that's been an issue in the three states monitored and then having representatives here. You have mentioned voter apathy. I'd like you to please, from your assessment of what happened in Imo and then having feelers from the other three states, what could be responsible for that? That's the first leg of the question. Then we talked about the fact that some people who even came out to vote were not aware that they've been moved to another polling unit. Whose duty is it? Maureen tried to mention that, the sensitization and education shouldn't be left to INEC alone. But where does it stop? Whose duty is it to ensure that voters are educated, as to where they should be voting? And then if they moved certain people, how come they could still vote in their previous polling units? Second question. Then I want to find out from you, I already mentioned voter apathy and then the fact that there's not enough education. There's also the part of where you mentioned that security operatives who were on ground didn't know what to do when someone had committed an offense, or rather they just waited and probably waiting for the those in charge to let them know that, oh, somebody is doing something wrong here. Do you think that our security operatives are even properly educated about the electoral process so they can know when someone is doing something wrong, so they can actually, do the needful?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just put it on the table that one major reason, I think that the foundational problem why we have increased voter apathy is the fact that people get elected and they never ever keep to their promises. They never deliver on their commitment to the people. So people are like, oh, okay, so this person is there, it's turn by turn, they just go there, they don't do anything. You see somebody is in office for 4 years before he or she leaves the first 4 years, and then you come again in the next 8 years. I remember observing election in one of the states in the south. The governor performed very woefully, and when the father was coming to campaign for him, so you know, when you go to school and you fail, just go allow the person to repeat. So that's the mentality. They take the people for granted. They don't deliver. And then the other thing is about voter education. Whose responsibility is it? It is the responsibility of the person who benefits from the electoral process. The 110% responsibility lies on the political class. But the politicians don't even have voter education in their program. They rather will put together money basket to buy votes.
Isn't that on purpose? Because when they're not properly educated about, I mean, the whole process, it means that you can actually coerce them.
Exactly.
Whichever way.
Exactly. So what happens is, one, citizens don't know, for instance, the hierarchy of elections. A lot of Nigerians, if you ask them which is the most important election to you, they tell you it's presidential election. But I tell you, the local government election, that never happens in any state, irrespective of the party that is there, is supposed to be the most important election, because that is where you have the closest government structure to the people, followed by the governorship election. So I expect that if you have 30% turnout for presidential election, there should be 60% turnout for governorship election and 80% turnout for local government election. But let's not talk about the local government, because elections don't happen at local government in any of the 36 states. The only place that local government election happens is the FCT, because it's INEC that is conducting that. So it doesn't matter which political party is in power. In some local government, they don't even have election, they have transition committees. So let's not go there and talk about that. So citizens don't understand that this is where their power lies. This is where you can actually see the person and hold the person accountable. That's on the issue of voter party. And then the insecurity. Insecurity is just the elevation of insecurity in the country. You can before the election, especially in Imo, you had all of these, that about 2 or 3 local government areas where activities are not happening. When we went to Owerri for the stakeholders meeting, there was a traditional ruler who even came out to say, oh, there's no insecurity in the state, everywhere is fine. But the director of DSS at that meeting said nobody should tell you there's no insecurity, but we are having strategies to work on that. So you can imagine a traditional ruler coming to tell people, oh, you are supposed to have first-hand information about what is happening. You are supposed to tell the people the way it is, what it is, how it is, so that you have also traditional ways of protecting the people. Yesterday I was traveling from Owerri to Port Harcourt. There was a by road we passed. On that road alone, you have over 33 police checkpoints. So police, the drivers now devise a means of cutting off some of those police checkpoints to go through the road where you have vigilantes. Citizens now are more comfortable with vigilantes being on the road than even having police on the road. You understand that? So when you unnecessarily heat up the polity, get insecurity everywhere, people can't even say what they want to say. People are looking at your body language. People are looking at you. They cannot come out. For instance, you come out to the field to vote. You are thinking that these people are party agents or these people are voters. Just take time, settle down, sit down in a polling unit. You're looking at their body language. You're looking at their eye contact. If you move anyhow, by the time they see observers, you will see a bus of people coming there. What is happening here? What is happening here? You're looking at them. Those so-called party agents of different political parties will congregate towards that. Say, no, there's nothing happening. Observers are here. You understand? So even as observers, we are, except the last 4 years I was in Kogi, I was almost burnt in Ganaja. And I have a phobia to go to Kogi now. And that was why I didn't even go to Kogi for this election. My team and myself in our vehicle were almost burnt at Ganaja for being election observers. You can understand. So when you look at when you look at the level of insecurity and the reports that come, and you know the funniest thing, sometimes you don't have violence on election day. It is when it now gets into collation. Yeah. So perhaps we should begin to look at what other strategies do we need. We went to Anambra the other time. The people, my family called, don't go. And we had the most peaceful election, even at the height of that. Whatever violence happened after the election. Yeah. So these are the things we are talking about, the issue of voter apathy. We have the National Orientation Agency that is statutorily mandated to do this. But how are they funded? How are they funded? You go to the state, you want to talk to National Orientation Agency. The state director is telling you that my budget is like 100,000 naira for 3 months. How do you now expect it? They have, the NOA has a structure than the staff, because they have staff across the 776 local government areas, and they have strategies, and they are properly trained, but they're not funded to do that. Right in the I don't mind even political parties donating some of those monies that they use for vote buying. In Imo, it was reported, armed robbers went to steal money from the polling unit for money that we were supposed to use
for vote buying.
In Imo, armed robbers went and stole the money from the party agents. I'm telling you, so it has got to that level. Why do we have to wait? The hotel I stayed, from my window, if I tell you the bags, money bags that were left there, in Kogi, we paid for a hotel, paid way ahead of time. A day to the election, the hotel called us and told us that the governor has asked that nobody should stay in that hotel. We asked them, up till now, they have not refunded our money.
It happened in Imo.
It happened to us. We paid 3 months, 2 months ahead in Imo. We had to send our officer there to ensure that our rooms are given to us. We practically fought to get keys to our rooms. And somebody was asking us, how did you people get that? And you must have long leg. I said, we didn't have long leg. We went to fight. At least we got rooms there. The only state we didn't have problem was Bayelsa. In Kogi, up till now, I talked to you, that hotel, they've not refunded our money. They told us that the governor has said that no group should be in that hotel. Okay, give us our money so that we can get another hotel. Up till now, they have not given us our money. So now, people, we are not getting money from government to do the work that we are doing. We are making effort to make sure that the process is credible, so that politicians will benefit from this same process that they have not contributed to us for, and you frustrate our effort. Tomorrow, ask me, why would I want to go and observe election?
Okay, first, Nwadishi, thank you so much for your insight into the election. Election assessment is important because it ensures that elections have integrity and the will of the people is reflected, in their votes. But we've seen that there was a lot of voter apathy, especially in Imo and Bayelsa State. And we're talking about, educating the voters. And Maureen has said it's a multi-sectoral event when it comes to elections. From my own opinion, I think it should begin from the home. I remember when I was a child growing up, I started monitoring elections from 1983 because my father would say you have to sit down and watch how it is done so that you know.
But that was then.
Yeah, that was then. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
no, listen to me. What if parents are not educated enough? How can they educate the younger generation who are coming up tomorrow to be contestants, to be voters? I hope you to be observers and all that. Why should that be happening in a country where most African countries look up to copy the kind of democracy we have in this country? Let me bring in Hamzat Lawan, CEO Connected Development, here into the conversation. Kogi, before the election, there was a lot of talk that it was going to be violent, insecurity was going to be high, and a lot of people were going to be killed, especially in Kogi East. And then along the way, we'll find out that the violence didn't really happen, but there was a lot of compromise when it comes to results. That we saw the pre-filled result sheets, and would you say that INEC acted promptly when they got the warning from Yaga Africa that something like that was happening in Kogi? And would you rule out compromise here?
Well, first, the tension before this election, we've never seen that. It's unprecedented. From Bayelsa, from Imo, and even Kogi, the political actors tense the politics. There were hate speech, there were fake news and misinformation, there were threats, open threats, even leveraging on national TV and even social media to threaten that, this was going to be a do-or-die affair. Yes, we also got the report of the field result sheet in Ugorimagogo local government in 8 polling units. And I'm really excited about how INEC responded. They responded promptly, first setting aside those results, and also investigated the matter. They even expanded their reach and said, we're going to investigate in 5 local governments in Kogi Central, before we even continue this process. So, and this also gave some level of credibility, but most importantly, give confidence to the stakeholder that, we've escalated this and now you've responded promptly. But I think that it's important that as we document and continue this entire process, because again we'll take lessons, and we're going into Edo elections and also 2027 general elections. Whoever colluded in filling result sheets must be brought to book. You know, they must investigate jointly with our apex law enforcement agents, which is the Nigerian police, because I always say the Nigerian police have everything it takes to solve any crime in Nigeria if you give them the political will and the resources to do their job. So I expect that the INEC chairman, by the way, in Kogi you had 10 electoral commissioners. So you had 8 REC and you have 2 national commissioners in the state. I expect that they would write the Commissioner of Police in the state and the IG of Police. This, we must unravel what happened. Because I also observed that the resident electoral commissioner signed the result sheet for local government coalition, not polling unit coalition, because the result sheet that was signed, or that was filled rather, in Ogorimagogo was a polling unit result sheet. So I think it's important, because we must get answers so that we can continue to build confidence. People would come out to vote if they know that the process is free, fair, and credible. For insecurity, I also think, I agree with Faith, everybody was ready for this election except the political class. Stakeholders, including
they were ready,
me,
but not in the way that you think.
Yes.
Well, or the way you want them to be prepared.
I think that this is where we need to look at what are our morals in this country, what are our values. Because if politicians are saving money, so by the way, in Bayelsa, election or vote buying started from 15,000 per vote. It went as high as 30,000
per vote.
Yes, during elections. And we got not only videos, we got pictures where monies were counted and sorted and being paid to people who have voted for a particular political party. In short, there was jubilation when the announcement was made publicly that it's no longer 15,000, it's now 30,000. Come and see jubilation.
Where were the security agents?
They were around.
And that's the question I tried to ask earlier.
So this also shows there's a collusion. There's a collusion between stakeholders that are meant to checkmate irregularities in this entire process and value chain.
Is it an issue of collusion or an issue of not being educated? That was the question I tried to ask you.
See, let me tell you.
Or maybe they thought that, you know, the fact that they came, they had to pay their transport fare. Maybe that's what the money was for. Did they?
Come on, Yeri.
No, let's be realistic here, because this happens all the time. And like Faith already mentioned, and I tried to ask her that the security operatives see things going wrong and they look away.
Yeah.
Is it that they are not educated about the process and what should be done and not done on the field? Or is it that, you know, their role there is just to
sit down, look,
so that when you come and take pictures, you say, okay, that there's security.
Now let me give you one example. I went to a polling unit. I saw 2 security personnel from 2 different security agencies. The presiding officer announced to the people that polling has been open, drew a line and said, go back. And then people were not adhering to her instruction. And then she looked at the security and said, please come and help us now. Because ideally, security is supposed to also help them.
Yeah, exactly,
you know,
get the place organized.
And then the guy said, oh, you didn't come and meet us and tell us that polling have started. And then she's like, were you not here when I made the announcement? Am I supposed to come to you and officially tell you? You know, and then they were having the argument. Yes, I'm an observer, and most time as observers, we even become monitors.
Yeah.
No, they're 2 different things. Monitors are INEC deployed. Yeah. We had to now intervene and say, there's no time. You know, we only have a window of about 6 to 7 hours. This argument will not help anybody. And there are a lot of people queuing up, you know. And there's even another incident where I had to start speaking local language, you know, saying, go back, you know, go back, calm down. Because there's so many things that happen on the field, which is sad. My sister, there's a budget for security, there's a budget for INEC. And we know this because there's a joint committee that, you know, the INEC chairman co-chair with the National Security Advisor, and you also have the IGP of police. There's collusion here. And let's tell ourselves the truth, because we want things to be done well. People look away because they've been compromised. Because in Bayelsa, there was no reason. And if you look at some of our videos, you see security agents there. They would sit down. You see people sorting money. You see a few meters, you see security agents. And you say they don't know.
You know, during the Osun election, I remember the social media sort of helped a lot, you know, by bringing out videos of vote buying in houses and then, you know, stamping of election results. And yes, there are the positive and negative sides of the social media.
Oh, yes.
You know, before even yesterday, I was watching a clip on X and I saw shooting and I said, but this didn't happen in Kogi. So how come is there, you know, as if it's happening in Kogi? So when we look at the social media, you know, output out there, at times it is you know, it's scary, you know, actually. And like Faith Nwadishi said, she's afraid to go to Kogi State as an election observer because she feels it is dangerous and she might not survive it. So what role can the social media play now in stabilizing the polity during elections? I'll give it to you and then we'll go out.
So social media is a platform, like every other platform. You can use it positively or negatively. Yes, we advocate that you use it positively, but I also think that and here we need to be careful. So we don't also over-police platform and, you know, hamper on the right of people and continue to shrink the civic space, because the civic space is shrinking. And social media is one platform where people only have to express themselves. But I think this is where we also have fact checkers. And I know NTA have fact checking.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that we need to be able to respond to any fake news, misinformation and disinformation, but also ensure that whoever is caught spreading fake news, misinformation or disinformation, you know, it's being prosecuted. Yes, if we do that, then people will know that, there's deterrent when you do the wrong thing.
I'm particularly worried because just 9 months before this election, the general elections, these were the same issues that cropped up. And it's unfortunate that we're having elections after that and the same issues. So it means we're not correcting our mistakes.
Yes.
Something is not being done. Vote buying is still the order of the day. In fact, the price now is bigger, 30,000. That's huge. I mean, that's almost the salary of a civil servant.
No, 1,000 is between 1,000 to 5,000 in Imo.
In Imo, 1,000 to 5,000.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't too good.
Let me quickly address the issue about the education of the security agents. They have manuals for training of police officers or security agents that will be deployed to the field. But another problem is the system of deployment of these officers. So for an off-season election, you know that you don't have the numbers to police the polling units within a state. So you bring people from their states. We have reports of, you know, somebody just reports for duty in the morning and you say, oh, you're going to Imo State for election observation. If they are not very close by or they don't have their back sack to put one or two things that they will need, especially women. You know, a woman that may be undergoing menstruation and all of that, she needs some of those basic things and she's not coming with it to the field. Some of those people may not have also had the training, but the people within the state may have had the training, but you have a lot of those people who will be deployed to all of those polling units that may not have the training, may not have had the training. So that calls for more training. And that's one thing we need to advise is, beyond training those people within a state where the election is going to happen, long before that time, you should train all police officers so that if you draft any police officer to a particular state,
I do not think that the training is sufficient or has been done appropriately.
Yes, exactly.
You know why? Because we had the general elections where almost every police officer was involved.
Yes.
So I mean, by now the process. Okay, if me as an electorate, for example, I'm supposed to know how the process runs during election day if I've been voting. So if you're a police officer, you will be drafted one time or another for election.
Police, all the military, even military. It was even worse. You know, we got to a checkpoint where we're just driving through, got to a checkpoint. The first military officer that saw say, we are observers, say, what's it be observer? Go and meet that man. I'm telling you can imagine. And it was happening in the city.
Is the call for the police
the security agents,
state policing, is the call for the State Police Act at this moment now?
I mean, I am in support of state policing, but the only problem I have is hijacking of that, the state capture of it, you know, and what citizens will think about it. Already, some vigilantes are working, some states have passed laws for vigilantes and all, but you have seen also the abuse of it. So the important thing is, how do you check that impunity? Somebody does something wrong because he is close to somebody, A, B, C. You let the person go. People are are buying vote on the field. You even see police, let me not say police, you even see security agents congregating together to collect their share from party agents.
When
we have a video. You understand? So maybe you have 5, 6 police officers in a particular polling unit. Others will just go back, and as soon as the person comes, you see the person, they will give them, this is your own share.
And why would they look away?
All of the elections.
And then that's why I'll bring more into the conversation quickly, because you talked about the fact that you saw a lot of security operatives on the field during the election, Maureen. But we also have report that an INEC official was abducted in that state.
He was released.
He was released, yes, but there was an abduction, and he was with materials at the time he was abducted. When he was released, were those materials, also released? So, Maureen, please tell us, because if we do not have the security agents doing the right thing on the field, and then at the end of the day, those who commit crimes or who are even arrested are released without, the right thing being done, without them being, properly the right thing being done, just so that, in the next election, nobody does the same thing. What really do you think is the way forward? Maureen, I just want you to tell me, as an election observer, what's the way out of this particular challenge with the security agents?
To be asking right now is the fact that the supervising presiding officer that was adopted in Amasuma, that was going to a reward that she was supervising in Sagbama, but she has to pass through Southern Niger to get to that place. So it's a difficult place to get to. Was she going alone? Were there no security deployed to go with her? Because the adopters went with her and took away the beaver. So will beaver's machine be going to place that election is supposed to be executed where security are not supposed to be with her? That's one of the first questions. And when I say election is a multi-stakeholder event, it is not just only INEC. On election day, people get to register to work for INEC, not because of the money INEC is going to be paying them after the election. So you see, we observed where presiding officers, INEC officials, ad hoc staffs on election day are bargaining with party agents on what they will be paid before they will commence election. So if every other stakeholders that are supposed to be part of this process don't do their very bits, citizens have their bits to do, security have their bits to do, election observers, superb, we're doing our best. Security agency, very, very vital. A lady was taken away and security personnel were looking. They turned their face away and she was adopted. These are the issues, and I don't feel it's about morals. If we face the process with the fact that I am going into this process because it's a process where we select our leaders at every strata, national election, general election, state election, state assembly election. People go into this activity with the fact that this is not, they're not going for the money INEC is paying them. I will bet.
Let's look at the lessons learned, and going forward we have an election just around the corner in 2024. What are the lessons learned and what do you think should be done, to ensure that we have it smooth and easy as it goes?
I think first we need to audit the process. Let's audit as stakeholders. Let's sit down, civil society situation room, bring security, bring INEC, bring National Orientation Agency, and let's even look at, Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa. What are those gaps? Let's bring the National Assembly. Because see, the National Assembly is critical to whatever electoral reform we're going to do. Because they would have to pass it. And then it will go to the State Assembly and then comes back and then sent to the President. And this would take rigorous advocacy and engagement. So I think we need to have that honest conversation with an open mind. Because every stakeholder will come with her own perspective, and we need to be able to accept it, digest it, understand it, and then work with it. Also is the role of substance abuse. Because a lot of time, what triggers violence is substance abuse. Whoever you're sending to go and cause mayhem does not go with their right senses. So I think NDLEA is one key strategic partner here. Because if you engage them actively and make them critical in election cycle, because when you, I'm sure Faith have engaged a talk before on the field. You would see they are there, and then you wonder, how is a talk around a polling unit and there's still security? They're mostly not in their right senses. They're high on something, which is drug. So again, how do we curtail substance abuse during election so that we can have a saner process?
All right, many thanks. So, Faith, I'd like you to just respond. What's the way forward? Like I already mentioned, these are the issues we've been having. I mean, it's the same thing, the same issues. How do we solve this problem going forward and have our electoral process really free, fair, and credible?
I think that the first thing to do is for the call out the National Assembly to look at the Electoral Offences Commission, because we really need that like yesterday. People are committing electoral offences and they're not being prosecuted. Even those that are being prosecuted is taking a lot of time. But if you have an Electoral Offences Commission that takes care of those electoral issues, we will begin to see the big names being prosecuted, and that can be some kind of deterrence to people who want to perpetuate those kind of crimes on the field. And we need to do massive voter education, reorientation of the people to understand the role that they play, that the PVC is not about the 1,000 naira, or like when you go to some places where they say vote and make a pot of soup, that the pot of soup may not even be able to cure the disease that they have to pay money for in the hospital. So we need that reorientation to do that. Number one for me is to have that Electoral Offences Commission put in place. Number two is to do massive voter education, and perhaps there's something I'm learning recently about behavioral insight and behavioral economics. Look at how we can use behavioral insight strategies to begin to turn around voter education and people's perception about the election.
Okay, Faith, let's now return to Maureen in Bielsa. How do we begin to build trust, in the electorate to come out vote, so that we can sort of in any way reduce the voter apathy, and which way forward for the electoral process in Nigeria? In 1 minute, please.
So I think every stakeholder should just own up to their own responsibility, their own part of the process. So if INEC has said this is what they will do on election day, they should own up and keep up to that expectation. Security should do their part, and every other stakeholders involved. Yes, NOA has a lot to do in terms of education, because if people are educated and they know why they are selecting their leaders, I know a lot of this mayhems we're seeing on election day will reduce drastically. So every stakeholder that is involved in the process should own up to their own responsibility and do their bits in terms of our elections. I think that way we're going to reduce all the issues we're having.
Tari Maureen Amananaga, an election observer, thank you for joining us all the way from Yenagoa. And please stay safe even as we await the results, final results being released right there. Thank you so much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. Also, many thanks to Hamzat Lawal, CEO, Connected Development. Thank you for your insight this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It was great to have you. And of course, Faith Nwandishi, I must say that you look really beautiful. You don't look like you went through stress this weekend.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us again
so much.
for Good Morning Nigeria. All right, so we go to our next conversation, but before we let you in on what that's about, let's take this break. Stay with us.
Our commitment to the values, the creed of dedication, patriotism, and commitment to the value of this country, it is extremely important that we have a change of mindset for the sake of our country. Not for us, but for our children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the inheritors of tomorrow.
Welcome back, and this is still Good Morning Nigeria. We're discussing our second topic now as the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Enete, alongside top officials from various government agencies, will convene at the first Abuja Investment Summit and Expo 2023, scheduled for November 14th to 15th, 2023. And right about now, we have some guests who will be throwing more light on the summit and its gains for Nigerians.
All right, in the studio we have joining us Abiodun Odusonwo, the Chief Consultant, Trade Development Foundation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And also here is Dr. Emmanuel Onwodi, Director, PPP Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me in your studio this morning.
Let's begin with what the Abuja Investment Summit is all about, and what does it actually entail. Let's begin with you, Mr. Abiodun.
Abuja Investment Summit and Expo is that collective industrial activities designed to begin the process of industrial evolution in Abuja. As we know, Abuja is more or less an administrative, largely, community where we have a large number of international communities, but fewer industries. The idea, therefore, is to bring to Abuja what obtains in other capital of the world, other cities, whereby we have a combination of both administrative, diplomatic, as well as some industrial activities as well. We have a large number of persons, both young and old, in Abuja, large number of international communities, and expanse of space, land within the councils, whereby development can actually take place. That was why the idea of actually bringing the balance between administrative and industrial activities was born by the Abuja Investment and Expo.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. Rather, Abiodun, thank you so much. So, Emmanuel, could you tell us the specifics of this summit, really, and who are those you're expecting to attend?
Okay, thank you very much, and also to thank you for having us in your studio. Thank you, those watching us from home and all over the world. It's just to say that this summit couldn't have come at a better time than this. Part of the cardinals of this summit is, as you well know, in line with the Hope agenda of His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, is to ensure that we attract investments into our infrastructure space, be it greenfield or brownfield. I work for the ICRC, which is the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, started with the responsibility of, attracting investments into our infrastructure space. We have, as we speak, our infrastructure gap is widening by the day. The roads are not good. We're trying to fix them. And all aspects of our infrastructure areas requires an urgent attention. So this summit enables us to focus on the FCT and attract, we're going to have a gathering of investment experts, we're going to showcase projects that will appeal to investors. We're also going to use an opportunity to build a pipeline of projects that investors can now begin to look into and invest into, and at least to develop our FCT. If you look at the good work that the Honorable Minister is doing now, just this morning we were talking about resurfacing most of the roads in Wuse, in Gariki, and all of them. And these, since I think that approval was given on the 11th of September to do that. So we are trying to collaborate the efforts of government, attracting. 11th of September next year? When that approval was given by His Excellency, the Minister of FCT, so that they will begin to resurface the roads and build infrastructure that will support and promote economic development. So one of the key things is to see that there's economic development in the FCT. Another thing is to gather those pipeline of projects that investors will then begin to look at. At the same time, we're trying to position the FCT such that we're able to attract investments in an annual event. This event will be an annual event. The ministers, many of the ministers have already keyed into the project. The ICRC is also supporting, the role of ICRC in attracting public-private partnerships into our infrastructure space. So this event is one that, will be able to showcase these areas, and I believe it's the right step in the right direction, especially working with the TDF as partners to the government. We support all public-private partnerships, and that is what we do. That is what we know how to do best. Okay, talking about public-private partnership, we've seen your minister in so many forums around the world, and in Saudi recently, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said Nigeria is ready and open for business. Can you build on that?
I think, in fact, one of the essence of the summit is to generate employment Also in terms of poverty eradication, because if you create opportunities through industrial establishment, both large and small scale industry, it's going to engage a large number of our youth, women, and it's going to reduce the level of poverty within the country. Within FCT and the council, there are many sectors yearning for development. Our agri sector, pharmaceutical sector, even education sector, solid minerals, all these sort of resources and infrastructure that are there. What the essence of this summit is therefore to bring the meeting of those opportunities, because the government cannot fund all infrastructure projects. They are looking to bringing in private partnership to ensure that it's being sustained. So therefore, the essence is now to work within FCT generally and ensure that all those councils that are having projects, they couldn't fund, all those SDAs within FCT administration, they have projects across many areas. Our therefore is to bring in a meeting place for those who actually have the projects and those looking for opportunity to invest in Nigeria. That's the essence of the
just stop in the center. Do you have any synergy with the subnationals here?
Yes, in fact, a large number of different communities, they are coming in. We also have what we call a bilateral chambers of commerce that involve Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They actually like to involve as well. They are bringing in a large number of their stakeholders to this summit. So,
okay, you said it's a meeting place. So, Emmanuel, I just wanted to clarify, on that. Meeting place, so market women, everybody, I can take a leave from work and be there. What is that you would want to attend this summit? And then, what's the requirements for entry?
Okay, thank you very much. So when he said meeting place, it's beyond a meeting place, because we're going to consolidate partnerships. We're going to have, it will amaze you when we started looking at the various projects within the FCT. We're talking about sectors like the health sector, water sector, film industry, road, health, transportation, mass housing, mass transit. We had, a very large pipeline of projects. So call it market women, like you said, or the layman of the street, everybody that has something to do with, economic growth, are invited to it. And it's very easy to be part of it. You go on the website, you fill up your form, at the back end they receive it, and it's and if you want to also sponsor and take up a booth, you are welcome to do that at very reasonable prices. So we want to have a congregation, if you like, of investors and likely investors, whether they are small scale, medium scale, large scale. And I like the fact that we're also looking at subnationals as well. So especially with states around the FCT, Nasarawa and Niger, etc., there are people that have signified their interest, to be part of this program. And I think you should also be there to see things for yourself. We're looking at driving private investment into long-term investment in our infrastructure assets. We need to build our infrastructure assets. Our FCT, water is becoming a problem. To access health facility, we have issues with that. Security, the government is trying its best to address those challenges, etc. So by the time we have that window where the private sector is able to bring in their investment and take significant financial risk, so the government frees itself from those expenses and focuses on social infrastructure investment for the citizenry, and then people then begin to reap the benefits of that is called dividends of democracy, as you like. So having hope, because the president has brought us a hope agenda, and we're all committed to making this work as much as possible, and also trying to make sure that all the key sectors, it will amaze you to identify that many of the key ministries have already signified their interest, to be part of it. The president himself, from the State House, they've given their indication, they've given their total support for this, and it's going to be a collective work. And once again, I want to appreciate the consultant for coming up with this initiative and working closely with the FCT ministry and, of course, agencies like ours to drive this process.
All right, Abiodun, looks like you're the initiator of this summit. We have so many summits happening in Abuja. Every week you go to the ICC, you go to event centers, there's so many summits happening. But it's about whether they are producing results or if their targets have been met. what really are your expectations? And then what would make this different from, all the kinds of summits that we get to see happening?
Well, this summit actually took lead from the plan of FCT master plan in terms of the infrastructural gap within FCT generally. We started to work on this for the past 2.5 years, trying to ensure that the summit is not just a talking point, but really an opportunity to engage investors and engage with those investment opportunities. We've been involved in international conferences and so on. Every one of our activities actually got a very good follow-up, whereby they are bringing in, as Emmanuel said, investors and investment opportunities, particularly those with ministerial approval. This summit is actually approved also by the Minister of FCT. President Wike is there. If you look into it, it's actually been able to bring a large number of international embassies and investors where they want to invest in FCT. So today too are going to be there. Now the beauty of FCT, aside from other parts of the country, is that everybody is there, very close to the airport. The international community actually feels safe within FCT. So they too are now bringing investors from their own respective countries to actually partake in this investment and expo. It is that more or less the engagement place, whereby we have the real owners or those who have custodian of those projects. The SDAs within FCT, they are all coming there. They are coming there to showcase their agency-specific projects. They are not going to own and tell people this is what we have. And because we have the approval of the minister, therefore, in terms of the confidence that investors are looking for is there. Because these are documented opportunities, it's guaranteed it's safe, particularly when we have agencies like LCRC, because their own money is very, very clear. It's an infrastructure concession. So in concessioning those investments within Abuja, therefore, the confidence of the investors is there to ensure they key into it.
So what is the, our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, have been very emphatic about bringing the youths, the younger generation, into the fold. Now, some of them have startups, and is there any way, platform for them to come and showcase their ideas and buy into it?
Certainly. In fact, we have a very huge section. The DG, NYC, they are coming in. They have this project called Said. They come in to showcase their investment opportunity. The youngest secretary within FCT, I think it's Garki, so his the youngest cancer secretary within FCT. He's actually going to be there. We have large number of small and medium enterprises under Abuja Enterprises board. They are all coming in there because you see the creativity that you youth bring to bear is actually essential in economic growth for the country. So this platform, in addition to big projects going into billions, we have all those ones there. What we try to do now to have sort of trade fairs, Abuja Investment Summit and Expo. It is the Expo part that I'm now going to bring in all these small businesses, enterprises, and those who are that good. That's right, yes.
Beautiful. Looks like it's going to be a great event. So, Emmanuel, I'd like you to tell us where would this be happening, and what should participants expect? Is it a whole day event? What really is the plan?
Okay, thank you so much. I think the plan is the event kicks off tomorrow, which is the 14th of November, and it's planned for 2 days. So you have 14th and 15th, and it's taking place at the Velodrome Center at the National Stadium there. I think it starts each day at about 9 in the morning. So there are participants who have already pre-registered. You can also have the opportunity of registering at the venue. But we encourage participants to come in early. And then the places are well demarcated, and the signs are there. So we believe that it will be an event that will that will create that sort of benefit that we're all looking forward to having. So it's it's a 2-day event, 14th, 15th. Registration is free. You can also have access to booths. So you do your exhibition booths. You can bring in your small businesses and display them. We're looking to sign in. Well, at a very minimum cost,
I'm sure they need to know that they will be paying for the...
Yeah, I think it's something very minimum, and you're also allowed to design and brand your boots the way you want it. Of course, maintaining the minimum standard that we've actually identified and approved for this seminar. We're going to have presence of very high dignitaries of government, right from the president himself and the ministers, the chief executives of industries, governors, and all that. So it's going to be a very big event, and we are looking to have a successful gathering of investments and investors who are going to be bringing in their investment assets, and we're going to be doing a lot of collaborations as well, so people can begin to talk to themselves, interact, and then we as ICRC, we're going to be watching out for those projects that will create value for money for the government, and how we can then run with those projects, going through the PPP process to be able to get approvals and get them, signed concessions that will drive those government scheme. Ultimately, we want to attract investment into our infrastructure.
Both from within
space.
the country and from the international
Yes,
community.
many of them collaborate with international donors and lenders as well.
So after the summit, what next?
After the summit, in fact, the summit is going to be in 5 parts. We're going to have an exhibition. Also, we're going to have what we call a G2B, whereby the government meeting in with the businesses. We also want to have a ministerial roundtable, where ministers are there to now, or the director are there to now engage with the private sector for you to operate in this industry. For example, say the aviation, these are things you need to get. So by talking directly with those with the mandate to operate in those areas. Also a lot of networking with there as well. We're doing that as well. And there will be panel discussions structured along industries. So if you want to, if you're interested in the marine industry, we have stations there. In fact, the blue economy is also one of the big part of this summit.
In other climes, events like this, usually they look out for potentials.
Yes.
To peak.
Yes.
Would you be doing that?
Yes, certainly. In fact, we have a compendium of all those projects we want to showcase. I think in total we have 35 of such projects, whereby they are going to be available to investors. Those who are behind those projects, they're going to be there to acquaint the investors with opportunities contained within those there. So it's actually, and now that's why what we did is that we're going to have big ones running to billions. Then we have small ones within there. So opportunity is there, and it's going to be an annual project as well.
All right, many thanks. I think we have all the details about the Abuja Investment Summit, the very first, and just looking forward to subsequent editions. We appreciate you for joining us and for, getting people aware of this summit. Many thanks, Abiodun Odu-Sanwo.
Thank you very much.
Chief Consultant, Trade Development Foundation. I wish you all the best, and of course, I hope that this summit will be sustained. I think that's the main thing.
Yes, sustainability.
Yes. All right. Thank you. And of course, Dr. Emmanuel Onwodi, Director, PPP Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. Thank you for joining us. Also, wishing you the best.
Thank you very much.
All right. So that's
Sports update is next.
Okay, we have sports updates.
Okay, that's Good Morning Nigeria. We run out of time. That's Good Morning Nigeria for today. See you tomorrow, Tuesday, for another episode of the program. I am Jummai Yusuf.
And I'm Henry John. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and please remain tuned to the Nigerian Television Authority. Bye.